The Vorthon war fleet materialized from the depths of space like metallic predators emerging from dark water. 300 vessels strong, their hulls gleamed silver-white against the starfield, each ship bristling with energy cannons that could crack mountains. The flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Worldbreaker, cast its shadow across Earth's moon as it settled into high orbit. Admiral Crix stood on the command bridge, his forearms crossed behind his back as he gazed down at the unsuspecting blue world below. His species had conquered 47 star systems, and Earth would be the 48th. The Vorthans were methodical in their approach to galactic domination. First, they studied their targets for months, analyzing military capabilities and population centers. Then came the bombardment, swift and overwhelming. Finally, occupation forces would land to harvest whatever resources remained valuable. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, voice buzzing through the translator, "all strike formations are in position. We have clear targeting solutions on their major population centers." Crix's mandibles clicked in approval. The Vorthans had been monitoring Earth's radio transmissions for cycles now. They knew about human wars, their nuclear weapons, their fragmented nations constantly bickering among themselves, a primitive species, barely capable of reaching their own moon consistently. The decision to eliminate them before they became a future threat had been unanimous among the Vorthon Council. "Commence planetary bombardment," Crix commanded. "Primary targets first. Reduce their military capabilities to ash." The first wave of energy beams lanced down from orbit like spears of pure light. Each beam carried the destructive power of a small star, compressed and focused into weapons of unimaginable devastation. In Seoul, Dr. Jiho Kim was hunched over his computer terminal, analyzing genetic sequences in the empty laboratory building. The university had been quiet for hours, most staff having gone home to their families. Jiho preferred the night shift when he could work without interruption on his research into cellular regeneration. The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he was too absorbed in his work to notice. The first thing he noticed was the light, a brilliant flash outside his window, brighter than daylight, followed immediately by a sound like the world tearing apart. The reinforced glass of his laboratory window showed him a sight that made no sense to his rational mind. The Seoul skyline was disappearing, not gradually, not from earthquake or fire, but simply vanishing in columns of white-hot energy that reached down from the sky like the fingers of an angry god. Buildings that had stood for decades crumbled into dust in seconds. The Han River itself seemed to boil as the energy beams struck the water. Jiho's hands shook as he grabbed his emergency communicator, frantically trying to reach his research partner. Mina, are you there? Something's happening. The city is under attack." Dr. Mina Park was 3 levels underground in the government research bunker when the bombardment began. The facility had been built during the Cold War, designed to withstand nuclear attack, but nothing could have prepared them for this. The walls shook with each impact above, concrete dust raining from the ceiling as emergency lights flickered. "Jiho?" Her voice crackled through the static-filled channel. "I'm reading massive energy signatures from orbit. This isn't human technology. We're under attack by something from space." Above them, the bombardment continued with mechanical precision. The Vorthon fleet had divided Earth into grid sections, systematically destroying every major city, military base and infrastructure hub. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, all burning under the alien assault. The attack was not random or emotional. It was clinical, efficient, designed to break humanity's capacity to resist. In the command center of the Worldbreaker, Admiral Crix watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. Satellite feeds showed burning cities across the planet, their military command structures reduced to rubble. Human aircraft that tried to reach orbit were swatted down like insects. Their primitive missiles couldn't even reach the Vorthon ships. "Resistance is minimal," reported the tactical officer. "Their surface military has been effectively neutralized. Casualty estimates suggest 90% population reduction in targeted areas." "Excellent," Crix noted in his personal log. "Deploy occupation forces to secure resource extraction sites. This primitive species should offer complete surrender within 72 hours. But even as the Admiral spoke, Something was happening beneath Earth's surface that the Vorthans had not anticipated. In subway tunnels that stretched for hundreds of kilometers beneath major cities, in mining shafts that reached deep into the planet's crust, in government bunkers and natural cave systems, millions of humans had survived the initial assault. Captain Taeho Choi had been leading a military training exercise in the Seoul metro when the bombing began. Now he found himself commanding a mix of soldiers and civilians who had taken shelter in the underground network. His radio crackled with reports from similar groups across the city. "Sir," reported Sergeant Yuna. "Oh, we're getting signals from other subway sections. The Hongik University station has about 200 survivors. The express line to Incheon is intact, with at least 1,000 people." Similar scenes were playing out across the globe. The London Underground had become a fortress, sheltering hundreds of thousands. The New York subway system housed entire communities of survivors. In Tokyo, the extensive rail network provided refuge for over 1 million people. The Vorthans had made their first critical error. They had assumed that destroying the surface would eliminate human resistance. They had not accounted for the vast underground infrastructure that connected every major human settlement. They had not considered that a species which had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars might have learned to build their most important structures where they could not be easily destroyed. As the alien occupation forces landed on the smoking ruins above, they found a world that appeared dead and conquered, but beneath their feet, in the darkness of tunnels and bunkers, humanity was very much alive, and they were already beginning to plan their response. Captain Taeho Choi pressed his body against the cold concrete wall as another chunk of debris crashed down from the tunnel ceiling. The Seoul Metro had never been designed for this kind of destruction, but somehow the deeper sections had held together when the alien bombs turned the city above into a wasteland. His flashlight beam swept across the faces of 43 survivors who had been following him through the maze of damaged tunnels for the past 6 hours. The group was a strange mix of people who would never have spoken to each other in normal times. There was Mrs. Sora Kim, a grandmother who had been buying groceries when the attack began. Beside her walked Lieutenant Jinwoo Park, still in his torn military uniform, carrying a rifle with only half a magazine left. Dr. Jiho Kim clutched his laptop bag like it contained the secrets of the universe, which in many ways it did. "Captain," whispered Sujin Lee, crawling up beside him with her backpack full of electronic equipment. Before the attack, she had been designing communication networks for the government. Now she was humanity's lifeline to the outside world. "I'm getting stronger signals from the main junction ahead. If we can reach the central hub, I might be able to boost our transmission range." They moved carefully through the darkness, stepping over twisted metal and broken concrete. The air smelled of dust and something else, the strange metallic scent that seemed to follow wherever the alien weapons had struck. Every few minutes, they could hear the deep rumbling of Vorthan aircraft passing overhead, their engines creating a sound like angry thunder. The central junction had once been a busy intersection where 4 subway lines met beneath downtown Seoul. Now it looked like the inside of a broken machine, with emergency lighting casting weird shadows on the walls. But the communication equipment was still working, protected by layers of reinforced concrete and redundant power systems. Sujin immediately began connecting her makeshift radio array to the subway's emergency communication network. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls, adjusting frequencies and amplifying weak signals. Static filled the air, then suddenly cleared. "This is Busan Underground calling any Seoul survivors. Please respond." The group held their breath as Sujin grabbed the microphone. "Busan, this is Seoul Metro Central. We have 43 survivors and growing. What's your status?" "Seoul, thank God. We have over 800 people in the Busan subway system. The port areas are completely destroyed, but the underground sections are holding. We're also getting signals from Daegu and Gwangju." Dr. Jiho Kim leaned forward, his eyes wide with excitement. "If Busan is intact, and we can reach other cities..." He paused as Sujin adjusted the radio again, searching for more signals. Suddenly, a voice with an American accent crackled through the speakers. "This is New York Central Station, calling all international survivors. Is anyone out there? Sujin nearly dropped the microphone. New York, this is Seoul, South Korea. You survived the bombardment? Seoul. Holy, yes, we survived. The subway tunnels saved us. We have contact with Boston, Washington, and Philadelphia. Are you saying the metro systems in Asia are also intact? The excitement in the tunnel was electric. If New York had survived, if the American subway systems were operational, then maybe humanity wasn't as broken as the aliens thought. Over the next hour, the communication network exploded with activity. London Underground reported massive survivor populations spread across dozens of stations. The Paris Metro had become an underground city with organized leadership and supply distribution. Tokyo's extensive rail network housed over 1 million survivors, many of them engineers and scientists who had immediately begun studying pieces of alien technology that had fallen into the tunnels during the bombing. Commander Hyunwoo Nam's voice came through from London, speaking in accented English that everyone could understand. We've established contact with survivors in 15 major cities across Europe. The underground infrastructure is mostly intact. The aliens seem to have focused their bombing on surface targets only. Engineer Yuna Oh's transmission from New York added more hope. Our preliminary analysis suggests they don't understand our underground networks. They're treating Earth like a surface-only civilization. Big mistake. Captain Choi found himself smiling for the first time since the attack began. He keyed the microphone and spoke to the growing network of survivors around the world. This is Captain Choi in Seoul. I'm organizing reconnaissance of alien activities above ground. We need to coordinate intelligence sharing between all underground networks. Dr. Ji-ho Kim was already pulling up maps on his laptop, cross-referencing subway systems with known alien landing sites. The beauty of it is, he explained to the group, they're setting up their operations directly above our communication networks. They have no idea we're watching them. Above them, Vorthan soldiers were indeed establishing resource extraction points throughout the ruins of Seoul. The alien troops moved with mechanical precision, setting up mining equipment and atmospheric processors. Their insectoid forms moved efficiently through the rubble, but they never looked down. Never considered that the primitive species they had conquered might have built entire civilizations beneath the surface. The Vorthan command had made a critical error in their intelligence gathering. They had observed human surface activities, monitored radio communications, and analyzed military capabilities. But they had failed to understand that human civilization was not just buildings and roads. It was connection, communication, and the ability to adapt to any environment. As night fell on the first day after the bombardment, the underground network was humming with activity. Survivors shared information about alien patrol patterns, equipment, locations, and weak points in their defenses. Scientists began analyzing recovered alien technology. Military personnel started planning coordinated strikes. In the London Underground, Commander Nam was organizing supply distribution networks. In the New York subway system, Engineer Yuna was designing weapons from subway maintenance equipment and alien fragments. In the Tokyo rail network, teams of engineers were reverse engineering alien power sources. The Vorthans thought they had conquered Earth in a single day. They had no idea that beneath their feet, connected by thousands of kilometers of tunnels and communication networks, humanity was building something they had never possessed before, true global unity with a common purpose. The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The underground workshop in Seoul's abandoned subway maintenance bay had transformed into something that would have amazed any pre-war engineer. Sparks flew from welding torches as Jae-won Park hunched over his workbench, surrounded by an impossible collection of human and alien technology. The crashed Vorthan scout ship had provided more advanced materials than humanity had ever dreamed of working with. "Look at this," Jae-won said, holding up a crystalline component that pulsed with soft blue light. "This single piece generates more power than our old nuclear reactors, but it's completely stable. No radiation, no heat buildup, just pure energy. Conversion." Dr. Mina Park leaned closer, her notebook filled with sketches and calculations. She had spent months studying alien technology, trying to understand how their science worked. "The energy matrix follows quantum principles we've theorized about but never achieved. If we can replicate even a simplified version, we could power the entire underground network independently, finished Jaewon with excitement. No more rationing electricity, no more worrying about the surface power grid being destroyed. Their breakthrough had come from an unlikely source. 3 months earlier, a damaged Vorthan patrol craft had crash-landed in the ruins of Gangnam District. The alien crew had been killed on impact, but their ship's power core remained intact. It had taken Hana Shin's scavenging team 2 weeks of careful planning to retrieve it without alerting the Vorthan patrols. Nearby, Jun-Ho Lee was testing his latest creation, a weapon that looked like it had been assembled by a mad scientist. The basic frame was a standard Korean military rifle, but alien energy conduits ran along the barrel, connecting to a power pack that hummed with the same blue light as Jaewon's components. The traditional ammunition gives it stopping power against their armor, Jun-Ho explained to a group of fascinated observers, but the energy discharge creates an electromagnetic pulse that disrupts their personal shields. It's like hitting them with a sledgehammer and a lightning bolt at the same time. He aimed at a target made from salvaged Vorthan armor plating and pulled the trigger. The rifle barked with conventional gunfire, but blue energy crackled along the bullet's path. The armor plating, which had previously deflected every human weapon they'd tested, cracked and shattered. The success of Seoul's workshop was being replicated across the globe through the underground communication network. Every day brought new innovations and discoveries as human ingenuity met alien technology. In New York's subway system, engineer Yuna Oh had converted an entire subway car into a mobile laboratory. Her team had discovered that Vorthan technology relied heavily on crystalline matrices that could be reprogrammed if you understood their frequency patterns. They had managed to hack into alien communications equipment, giving them real-time intelligence on Vorthan movements and plans. The beautiful thing about their tech, Yuna explained during a global video conference, is that it's so advanced they never considered someone might try to hack it with primitive methods. They use quantum encryption, but they left back doors that assume only other Vorthans would have access. London Underground had become a manufacturing center under Commander Hyun-Woo Nam's leadership. British engineering traditions combined with alien materials had produced remarkable results. They had developed a new type of armor that used Vorthan, energy-absorbing materials woven into traditional Kevlar. The result was protection that could stop alien energy weapons while remaining light enough for human soldiers to wear. But perhaps the most impressive transformation was happening in Tokyo, where the extensive rail network had become a research and development paradise. Japanese precision engineering combined with alien technology was producing weapons and tools that amazed even their creators. The key to everything was Hana Shin's scavenging operations. At 24 years old, she had become one of humanity's most valuable assets. Before the war, she had been a parkour instructor and urban exploration enthusiast. Now she led teams of specialists who could move through the ruins of Seoul like ghosts, always staying one step ahead of the alien patrols. The Vorthans are creatures of habit, she reported during the weekly strategy meeting. Her team gathered around her in the dim light of the command center. They patrol the same routes at the same times every day. They inspect their equipment on a rigid schedule. They're so confident in their superiority that they've become lazy. Her latest mission had been the most daring yet. Vorthan engineers had established a major equipment depot in what used to be Seoul's financial district. It was heavily guarded, but Hana had noticed that the guards took a break every 6 hours to perform some kind of ritual ceremony. 15 minutes, she explained, showing surveillance photos taken from building ruins. Every 6 hours, all the guards stop what they're doing and face their ship for 15 minutes. They don't move, don't respond to anything around them. That's our window. The raid had been perfect. Her team had infiltrated the depot, gathered intelligence on new Vorthan weapon systems, and escaped with enough advanced components to keep the workshops busy for months. Most importantly, they had discovered something that changed everything. Elder survivor Sang-min. Oh, the former general who had become the unofficial leader of Seoul's resistance, studied the intelligence reports with growing excitement. Before the war, he had spent 40 years in the Korean military, rising through the ranks by understanding his enemies better than they understood themselves. "They're not just extracting resources," he announced to the assembled leaders. "They're preparing for something bigger. These new installations aren't mining operations. They're communication arrays. They're calling for reinforcements." The implications were staggering. The Vorthan fleet in orbit was just the beginning. More alien ships were coming with more advanced weapons and larger armies. But instead of despair, Sang-min felt a grim satisfaction. "Good," he said, his weathered face breaking into a smile that had nothing gentle about it. "Let them bring their reinforcements. By the time they arrive, they'll find a very different Earth than the one they conquered. Around the world, in workshops, hidden beneath the ruins of human civilization, the transformation continued. Humanity wasn't just adapting to alien technology, they were improving it, combining it with human creativity and determination to create something entirely new, the E. Vortans had made a fatal error. They had given humanity time to learn, time to adapt, and time to prepare. When the next phase of the war began, they would discover that the species they thought they had conquered had become something far more dangerous than anything they had faced before. The digital clock in Seoul's underground command center showed Sosti 5945 as Captain Taiho Choi made his final equipment check. Around him, 43 fighters prepared their weapons, a mix of modified human firearms and reverse-engineered alien technology that glowed with soft blue energy. The moment they had been preparing for during 8 months of careful planning had finally arrived. "All teams sound off," Taiho whispered into his communication headset. The responses came in quickly from strike teams positioned throughout the ruined city above. "Alpha team in position at the power distribution center," reported Hana Shin, her voice steady despite the danger. Her team had spent 3 days moving through collapsed buildings to reach their target without being detected by Vorthan patrols. "Bravo team ready at the communication hub," came Junho Lee's voice. His squad carried the most advanced weapons they had developed, rifles that could punch through Vorthan armor and disrupt their energy shields simultaneously. In New York, engineer Yuna Oh crouched beside an alien control panel inside the Vorthan, a supply depot that had been built over the ruins of Times Square. Her fingers traced the crystalline interface she had spent months learning to operate. Through her earpiece, she could hear similar confirmations from teams across the globe. London Underground's commander Hyunwoo Nam reported ready from beneath Big Ben, where the Vorthans had established their European communication center. Tokyo's Dr. Mina Park confirmed her position near the massive resource extraction facility that had been carved into Mount Fuji's base. The synchronization was perfect. For the first time since the bombardment, humanity was acting as one species, with one purpose. 30 seconds, Taiho announced to the global network. Above ground in Seoul, Vorthan sentries patrolled their installations with the same mechanical routine they had followed for months. The insectoid aliens had grown comfortable in their occupation, confident that the primitive humans had been effectively eliminated. Their patrol routes never varied. Their shift changes happened precisely on schedule, and they had never bothered to investigate the subway entrances scattered throughout the city. 10 seconds, Taiho counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, execute. The attack began with darkness. Yuna's fingers pressed the control sequence she had memorized, and the main power grid for the Seoul district died instantly. Similar blackouts occurred simultaneously across every major Vorthan installation on Earth, as human engineers, who had learned to operate alien systems, turned their own technology against them. In the sudden darkness, the Vorthan guards night. Vision systems struggled to adapt. That 3-second delay was all humanity needed. Jaewon Park's modified weapons opened fire from concealed positions throughout the depot. The hybrid rifles spat conventional bullets wrapped in energy fields that tore through Vorthan personnel, shields like they were made of paper. The alien guards fell before they could even understand what was happening. Taiho's team moved through the darkened facility like a coordinated machine. Months of planning and practice showed in every movement. They knew exactly where to find the communication equipment, the weapons storage areas, and the command centers. Within minutes, they had secured the entire complex. But Seoul was just one piece of a global puzzle. In London, Commander Hyunwoo Nam's forces emerged from maintenance tunnels directly beneath the Vorthan communication array. The aliens had built their installation over the London Underground's central hub, never realizing that hundreds of human fighters were positioned directly below them. "Breach and clear," Nam ordered, and his teams swarmed up through hidden access points. The British forces moved with military precision, their new armor absorbing Vorthan energy weapons, while their modified rifles returned devastating fire. The London communication array fell in under 10 minutes. In Tokyo, Dr. Mina Park led a more scientific approach to their assault. Her team had discovered that Vorthan equipment relied heavily on networked control systems. Instead of fighting their way through the facility, they hacked into the resource extraction equipment and turned it against its operators. Massive mining, machines that had been stripping away Mount Fuji's forests, suddenly turned on the Vorthan technicians operating them. Conveyor systems reversed direction, crushing alien workers. Atmospheric processors began generating toxic gases that forced the surviving Vorthans to evacuate in panic. Across the globe, similar scenes played out with mathematical precision. Human forces emerged from subway tunnels in Paris, sewer systems in Moscow, mineshafts in Sydney, and maintenance corridors in Cairo. Every major Vorthan installation found itself under simultaneous attack by enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. High above in the world breaker, Admiral Crix watched his tactical display transform from calm green indicators to blazing red warning lights. In the span of 20 minutes, his forces had lost contact with installations on every continent. "Status report," he demanded, his mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from all surface operations," his aide reported, voice shaking. "Communications are being jammed, power systems are failing, and our troops are reporting coordinated attacks by organized human forces." "Impossible!" Crix slammed his 4 fists on the command console. "We eliminated their command structure, their governments, their military leadership, their communication networks. We destroyed everything." The aide's scanner showed data that made no sense. "Sir, the attacks are being coordinated through their underground transportation systems. The humans are using subway tunnels, sewer networks, and maintenance passages we never mapped. They've been operating beneath our feet this entire time." On the main display, Crix watched as red zones spread across every continent. His occupation forces, spread thin across the planet's surface, were being systematically overwhelmed by human fighters who knew every tunnel, every building, every hiding place in their own cities. The Vorthans had made a critical error in their understanding of warfare. In the 47 worlds they had conquered before Earth, orbital bombardment had always been enough. Destroy the surface cities, eliminate the leadership, and the remaining population would surrender within days. But humanity was different. Instead of breaking under the bombardment, they had used their underground infrastructure to maintain communication, coordinate resistance, and prepare for exactly this moment. The Vorthans had given them 8 months to study alien technology, adapt their weapons, and plan their counterattack. As reports continued pouring in from the surface, Crix realized that his species had not conquered Earth at all. They had simply given humanity a reason to unite and the tools they needed to fight back. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the bombardment began, it was the aliens who were afraid. The detention cell aboard the captured Vorthan flagship was nothing like the prisons humans had built. The walls were made of some kind of living metal that shifted and pulsed with soft light, and the air itself seemed to hum with energy. Admiral Crix sat on the single piece of furniture, a bench that had molded itself to his insectoid form, staring through the transparent barrier at a sight that should have been impossible. Earth's orbital space buzzed with activity that defied everything the Vorthans understood about conquered worlds. Massive construction platforms stretched across the void, their skeletal frameworks bristling with welding torches and assembly arms. But these weren't primitive human structures. They were hybrid creations that combined the best of both technologies. Vorthan engineering precision merged with human creativity and determination. Captain Taiho Choi approached the cell, wearing a uniform that hadn't existed a year ago. The insignia on his chest showed Earth surrounded by stars, the symbol of humanity's new unified defense force. His face bore the scars of the underground war, but his eyes held a confidence that came from victory against impossible odds. "Admiral," Taiho said formally, "the evacuation of your remaining forces is complete. The last transport cleared Earth's atmosphere 20 minutes ago." Crix's mandibles clicked in bewilderment. "Your species should have been extinct within a week of the bombardment. We destroyed your cities, your governments, your military infrastructure. How is this possible?" Dr. Ji-Ho Kim stepped into view, carrying the same tablet he had clutched in the Seoul subway tunnels a year ago. But now it was enhanced with Vorthan data storage technology, containing terabytes of information about galactic civilizations, star maps, and technologies that humanity was already improving upon. "You made a fundamental miscalculation," Ji-Ho explained, his voice calm but firm. "You studied our surface behavior, our political divisions, our military capabilities. But you never understood what makes humans truly dangerous, our ability to adapt and unite when faced with extinction." Through the cell's viewport, they could see one of the most remarkable sights in human history, the construction yard where engineer Jaewon Park had established his primary research facility stretched for kilometers across space. Human workers in advanced spacesuits moved alongside Vorthan defectors who had chosen to remain on Earth rather than return to their empire. The defectors had been a surprise to everyone. It turned out that not all Vorthans supported their species' aggressive expansion policies. Some had joined the Empire's military out of duty, others had been conscripted from conquered worlds themselves. When they saw how humans had turned certain defeat into victory, many chose to switch sides. "The integration has been remarkable." Dr. Mina Park's voice came through the communication system from her orbital research station. "Vorthan biotechnology combined with human medical knowledge has already eliminated diseases that have plagued both our species for millennia." Her research platforms were visible through the viewport, spinning cylinders that generated artificial gravity while housing laboratories where human and Vorthan scientists worked together. The irony wasn't lost on anyone that the same alien technology used to bombard Earth was now being used to heal and advance both civilizations. Engineer Yuna Oh's voice crackled through from the bridge of what had once been a Vorthan battlecruiser, but was now humanity's flagship. "Admiral Crix, you might be interested to know that your quantum communication arrays have given us detailed maps of 47 star systems your empire has conquered. We've been in contact with resistance movements on 12 of those worlds." The implications of that statement hit Crix like a physical blow. The Vorthan Empire had ruled through fear and overwhelming force, never considering that their victims might one day coordinate their resistance efforts. Now humanity was providing exactly that coordination. Sang-Min Oh entered the detention area, his footsteps echoing in the metallic corridor. The former general now served as Earth's first defense minister, a position that had never existed before. The invasion, but had become essential as humanity prepared for its future among the stars. "You came to eliminate a potential threat," Sang-Min said, his weathered face showing a grim satisfaction. "Congratulations, Admiral. You succeeded beyond your wildest dreams. You've created exactly what you feared, a unified, technologically advanced humanity, with every reason to ensure this never happens to anyone else." The old general gestured toward the viewport, where sleek warships patrolled Earth's orbital space. These weren't captured Vorthan vessels, but entirely new designs that combined alien technology with human innovation. They were faster than Vorthan, ships more heavily armed, and operated by crews who had learned warfare in the brutal underground conflict of the past year. "Your empire ruled through strength," Sang-Min continued, "but you never learned the difference between strength and power. Strength is what you use to destroy our cities. Power is what we use to rebuild stronger than before." As if summoned by his words, a new ship emerged from the construction yards, humanity's first purpose-built interstellar vessel. The craft was beautiful in a way that no pure Vorthan or human design had ever achieved. Its hull curves spoke of alien engineering principles, but its proportions and details were unmistakably human in their elegance. Hana Shin stood on the observation deck of that very ship, her reflection visible in the polished metal surfaces around her. The young woman who had once led scavenging missions through Seoul's ruins now commanded humanity's first exploration fleet. Her mission wasn't conquest. It was contact with the other species the Vorthans had oppressed. "The galaxy is about to change," she reported to the Global Command Network. "We've received responses from resistance groups on 7 worlds. They're requesting assistance, technology, and most importantly, hope." Through the detention cell's communication system, voices from across Earth's orbital network added their reports. Former subway tunnels had become command centers coordinating activities across multiple star systems. Underground workshops that had once produced improvised weapons now manufactured advanced starships. The same human ingenuity that had turned subway cars into laboratories was now transforming entire asteroids into mobile bases. Admiral Crix listened to it all with growing horror. His species had created something unprecedented in galactic history, a unified human civilization with advanced technology, detailed knowledge of the galaxy's political structure, and an absolute determination to prevent what had happened to Earth from happening anywhere else. "The evacuation ships will carry a message to your empire," Captain Taiho said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had fought impossible odds and won. "Humanity is now a spacefaring civilization. We know about your other conquests, your methods, your weaknesses. Any attempt to attack Earth or our allies will be met with consequences your empire has never faced." As the last Vorthan transport disappeared into hyperspace, carrying news that would shake the foundations of an empire, humanity turned its attention to the stars with a clarity of purpose that only came from surviving extinction. The species that had once hidden in subway tunnels and sewer systems now commanded the most advanced fleet in their region of the galaxy. They carried with them the hard-learned knowledge that freedom must be defended, that unity could overcome any enemy, and that sometimes the greatest victory came not from conquest, but from turning your enemy's strength into your own. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity was just getting started. The end.